Welcome everyone to ChatGPT for Accountants. How we use or how we're using AI in accounting today. My name is Hector Garcia. I'm a quote accounting YouTuber and I have a YouTube channel if you want to check it out. I have tons of content mostly around QuickBooks and accounting and tax, and now I'm doing some stuff on ChatGPT. I'm also the founder of an app for QuickBooks Online called Right Tool. If you have not used Right Tool, let me just plug it in right now. It would be life changing. If you are an accountant using QuickBooks Online, trust me when I tell you, there's two types of lives your life prior to Right Tool and your life after Right Tool. Trust me when I tell you, I wouldn't say that lightly. I've never said anything about any app ever. I'm also one of the mentors at the ALTACCOUNTANT. So a lot of accounting professionals want to get sort of one-on-one and group coaching on how to build and grow their practice. And that's what ALTACCOUNTANT is. It's a very small group. We have like 30 something people, and we're going to we have it capped at around 40 or 50 because we can only manage so many at a time. So check out ALTACCOUNTANT for that. The link would be on the slides. And there's my email address. If there's anything I didn't cover or something that you want me to try to point you in the right direction, go ahead and send me an email. So let me do a quick recap of what we covered on last week's webinar. So this webinar is sort of kind of a part two. So last week I did like a ChatGPT 101 for accountants, and I published that into YouTube. So we're gonna skip some of the like sort of like the real basic fundamental stuff. And in that particular webinar, and there's a link for the video. I'll put it on the description as well. Um, we covered like sort of okay, what is ChatGPT? What are other AI tools or not ChatGPT? And we covered like helping you categorize expenses, helping you build narratives and summaries or reports, and writing notes for reports, and some of the other things that accountants could be doing. So we already covered that, and so we're not going to cover that fundamentally. Maybe towards the end, if we have some free time, we can go back to these examples. But these are like the most basic examples of like practical things that ChatGPT could be helping us do. And so we're not going to cover those. We're going to cover more advanced stuff today. So there's the link to that part one if you haven't seen that. Today we're going to cover three specific examples. One is cleaning up raw data. So we're going to talk about we deal with raw data all the time. I mean, mostly bank transactions that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about writing Excel macros. That's always fun in Offset. And then we'll talk about building your own chatbot. This is like you're building like your own sort of customized chat GPT that you can use possibly for your practice to manage information that you communicate with your employees, or maybe even to manage communications with your customers. So we'll discuss what that looks like. Then we'll talk about some of the other things that I'm doing that it might be a subject for some future webinars. And then we'll talk about some apps that are using AI today, or that are using some sort of connection to AI today, and then some additional resources and next steps. So we'll try to keep it under an hour, but hopefully we won't go over if we have to. Okay, so let's start with the first example. Let's talk about cleaning up raw data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take maybe like a typical spreadsheet of something we would download from from the bank. So imagine that you're not connecting your accounting software, your QuickBooks, to the bank, and you get some sort of spreadsheet that looks like this. Okay, so there are some good things and some bad things about a spreadsheet like this. Some of the good things is we get the raw data from the bank. Some of the kind of a good thing is the some credit cards give you like like a category. It doesn't necessarily match your like your chart of accounts category, but they do give you something that could provide some additional context. And of course, you get the date and the dollar amount. So that's just a very typical thing. You'll get this from a customer, and you're doing a year's worth of accounting or whatever it is. Now the challenge with this is that all these payees, all these payees have to be cleaned up, right? So there's a lot of extra information in these payees, and they have to be cleaned up because sometimes they'll read it wrong. So one of the things you can do is you can use ChatGPT to clean up some of these payees. So I'm going to show you kind of what that would look like. So I'm gonna go to ChatGPT, I'm gonna create a new chat, and then I'm gonna specifically tell ChatGPT what role is going to have for me. And this is one of sort of the fundamental things about ChatGPT is you tell it first, ChatGPT, this is who you are. That way, all the answers are within that context. So first thing I'm gonna say is, uh, you are going to help me clean up some raw data from banks and credit cards that I am going to import into QuickBooks. As much context as you can give it, the more it kind of understands what its role is going to be. So I'm going to tell it specific what you're going to clean up. Uh, I am going to give you um, a list, say a spreadsheet with payee descriptions, and I want you to give me only the cleaned up payee name. Okay. All right. Perfect. So I told it what I wanted. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the spreadsheet again one more time so we know exactly what we're working with. And then what I'll do is I'll cut this off maybe at like 40 lines or something like that, just to simplify the process here. Then I'm going to take all these payee names, I'm going to copy them. Okay. Actually, I'm going to add one more thing. Uh, one more. Okay. I am going to give you the credit card companies um, category for that payee merchant, so you can use it as context. Okay. I don't have to ask okay at the end, but I guess that's the fun part. We can tell them that. Okay. So let's go back over here and we're going to give them uh, both pieces of information. You don't have to give it both pieces of information, but you could. I mean, then you could see what kind of results you get. So I'm going to paste that in there and then I'm going to press enter. Okay. So this thing is going to come back and give me cleaned up payee names. And are they 100% good? No, I mean there might be some additional numbers here that I don't need. And actually, I can tell it. I can tell it stuff like get rid of the numbers, and I can also say, uh, yeah, I guess I could do that. So I'm gonna say get rid of unnecessary numbers that probably represent a location number or something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna say get rid of all this stuff, press enter, and here we go. Now it's gonna give me a more cleaned up list. Okay, I can also say like if there are specific merchant processors like OSP, I forget what the name of the company is, or TST. So I can say also get rid of merchant processor headers, or actually prefix merchant processor pre prefix like TST, TST star, or OS, what was it? OSP star. Okay. So then it'll do that for me as well. So, and I don't have to end this chat. I can keep this chat open. So as I do more and more of these, the entire context will continue to be there available. So I'm going to say, put it in a table. Okay, I want it in a table so I can paste it back into Excel. So then I can come in here and I can select all this stuff back over here, copy it. Where's my Excel? And then paste it back in here. Okay, boom, and there you go. So before I go importing this into QuickBooks or whatever, I would have to paste that in there. Okay, so I mean I can paste that in there so I have that cleaned up information. I do, like if you do want to make sure that this thing didn't break somehow, I can insert an extra column. I can copy that information again, come back over here, and paste over that. So if I want to just kind of like compare, if this thing is, sort of like original name and new name and that sort of thing. Okay, this one for some reason broke somewhere. I think it was this. One of these things got skipped somewhere for some reason. That Publix got skipped. I don't know how that happened, but clean that up. That's why it's not 100% something you can't 100% rely on yet. But again, if there was a software or an app for Excel for your spreadsheet that did this for you and did that work sort of behind the scenes, then it could verify these things and like maybe just double check and tell it to do that. Now I'm going to give you a similar example to this, but I'm going to go sort of one step deeper. I'm going to open up a new Google Sheets, okay? And let me open up a new Google Sheets. And there's an add-on for Google Sheets that's called uh, GPT for Sheets or something like that. So I'm going to show you. It's here under extensions. Once you install it, it's called GPT for Docs and Slides. And the way you find them really easily, you go to Chrome Web Store, and I'm going to put Google Google Sheets. Chat GPT or something like that. Okay, and then you can install some of those extensions, or you can also search them in here. So you can go to add-ons, you can go to get add-ons, and you can put chat. You can put Chat GPT Sheets. Okay, and then you find them here. So I have this one here called GPT for Docs and Google Sheets. So that's an add-on I installed into my Google Sheets, and I'm going to use the exact same principles. Like nothing's really changing, but instead of actually copying and pasting that stuff into the ChatGPT chat box, I'm just going to work it inside of the spreadsheet. Okay, this is actually particularly interesting stuff. So watch this. Whoops. Okay. So now I can enable this add-on called GPT for Sheets. I'm going to enable it. And by the way, this one is not 100% free. You actually have to have a paid version of ChatGPT, and you have to have your credit card on for the API. We can discuss that. If we have time, we can discuss how that will work. But you have to pay for this service. Like ChatGPT it feels free, but it's really not free, and the really useful parts are just never going to be free. I mean, it's an incredible resource. But let's say I were to use the exact same thing here, and what I'll do is I'll build it into the spreadsheet as a formula. So let's zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So in this particular case, let me just delete some additional data that I don't need. And then I can go equals GPT. Okay, and again, you have to have this add-on for you to be doing this. So we do equals GPT, and then I can do it as a formula. So I can say, and I forgot what the formula for this thing is. What is the formula for GPT? Can you remind me again? So it's the tagline. Okay, so I'm gonna say, let me just go back to my ChatGPT box. Oh, actually, I'll just type it from here. Tell me a clean payee merchant name for this description line from my credit card. So I am writing uh, the the prompt right there inside of the formula. It's pretty cool. So then I press enter, and then this will do the calculation for me. See, it did that, and then I can drag this down and let go, and it's going to do each of these queries to ChatGPT and load it into my spreadsheet. Look at that. Okay, it's actually going out there and loading the queries. Okay, and of course I didn't do in the query itself. I didn't say remove unnecessary numbers. If I were to do that, if I would say comma remove on needed numbers, and I'll press enter, and it will recalculate, and it should remove the number for me. There you go. Boom. Okay. So you're seeing an example of like just two different approaches to being able to do that. Now, a lot of people are going to ask me, wait, hold on, how do you even know what ChatGPT is going to cost you when using apps like this. So you go to platform.openai.com and you create an account and you put your credit card in and you do this thing called an API key. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go to manage account. So I'm going to show you, this is like what I've paid this month, 27 cents, right? And I've done quite a bit of usage, and you can go down and look at your sort of your daily breakdown of how much you have used it. And not every day I'm using it, but like this one, 51 requests. So it's really not pricey. Like I haven't really seen a whole lot of money come out of my bank on ChatGPT stuff. And so this has nothing to do with the $20 a month that you can pay ChatGPT. The $20 a month that you can pay ChatGPT is so you can be in the ChatGPT chat and you can use it uninterrupted and you can use all the different things. That's to use it in the chat. To use it in a different app, like a spreadsheet, for example, this the add-on, the GPT per Sheets add-on is free, but you have to load in your API key. Without the API key, this thing won't work. Like when you first install it, it'll ask you, "Hey, what's your API key?" So anytime that you see the concept of an API key, and we'll come back to this, the concept of an API key, you need to have that paying account, and you have to come in here and you have to tell ChatGPT to generate an API key. So you have to come in here and say create an API key, and you can say this is for Sheets GPT or whatever, and then click on create secret key, and then this key gets created, and you're gonna copy and paste this into the app so the app knows which account to charge for the ChatGPT work. Okay, for the third-party ChatGPT work. Okay, so you have to create those keys, and the minute you kill that key, that app will no longer work because they have no mechanism for ChatGPT to charge you for that, because all this work is being done by OpenAI. And again, I'm using an app that uses the key. Now, there are other apps that use their own key and then they charge you, and that's a different example altogether. All right, so that's cleaning up data in cleaning up raw data. I want to look into the chat. Are there any questions regarding cleaning up raw data? Was there something that I maybe didn't cover, or something that uh, something else you may want to ask? Okay, is there an app like ChatGPT for Microsoft Excel? So you're using it in Google Sheets? I think it is. I haven't tried one, so I don't have the quick answer for that. But I'm sure there is an add-on for Excel that would do something like this. Yep. Okay. Um, so do you actually need an app for Sheets, or can ChatGPT do it on its own? Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT can do it on its own, but you have to continue to copy and paste stuff inside the chat. If you're like a spreadsheet heavy user and uh, the work to be done by the spreadsheet, then you want to use the spreadsheet. Okay, what else can you do on the spreadsheet? Okay, that's interesting. So I'm going to delete this category here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to also delete this additional stuff that's in here. So I'm just going to leave the first one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do another GPT request. And I'm going to say, this is the pay merchant from merchant from my credit card statement. Please suggest a category uh, based on Schedule C deductions for this expense, something like that. Okay, and then I'll put comma and add that. I add that in there. Hold on, the formula is not. Let me close the quote there, comma, and then do this, and then press enter. So what then I'm doing is I'm using the power of ChatGPT to suggest an expense category. And in this case, I told it based on Schedule C deduct. Did I say Schedule C? Schedule C. Hold on. Schedule C deductions. Schedule C tax form deductions. Let me just make sure that it uses that instead of just some random thing. And you can misspell stuff all day long. Like I think I misspelled credit. Like I misspelled credit. It understands it, which is very good for me because I'm a horrible speller. Okay, but it understands implicitly sometimes when you do that. And then I could also put and if you can't connect it with a Schedule C category, uh, guess or something like that, and then press enter. And then I can make the prompt even more complex by telling it, hey, and then hey, in some cases, look, I'm getting answers like I don't know what these are, and that's okay. That's fine. But notice that for some, it is answering it. So, for example, for this one is saying it should be under other, and for this one is saying it should be advertising and promotion, and for this one is saying it should be car and truck expenses, and for this one is saying it should be supplies, and for this one is saying is etc., travel, cost of goods sold, etc., etc. So now with this, I mean, will any accountant be doing accounting like this? No, I absolutely not. But what you can start seeing between the lines here, and I think, and honestly, something I've been thinking about it already at this point is, imagine there was an app that just connected your banks and credit cards and used ChatGPT to clean up the vendors and to make up expense categories and to build a quick profit and loss for you. You could, in a very inexpensive way, a small business owner could get the impression or the illusion that they can build a P&L in minutes without the need of a professional. And that's truly the the risk uh, that uh, that, uh, that we're going to have. Is It's more of the illusion or impression that small business have about the power of artificial intelligence and these chat-based apps. And it is truly powerful. But does it contain any nuance? Does it contain any context? No, it doesn't. Okay, but just gives you an idea, more or less. But then the next sort of killer move would be to grab this cleaned up list of payees, copy them, and then just let's say we put them in a clean spreadsheet like this and paste them. And then prior to connecting it to the bank, and prior to you sitting there and creating all these vendors, let's say in QuickBooks, for example, you would just save this spreadsheet and then import your vendor list into QuickBooks. Let's say you're doing 12 months worth of transactions. You import that vendor list into QuickBooks. Then when you connect your bank or when you upload your downloaded spreadsheet, then all these vendors will be automatically recognized, and then you don't have to be creating these vendors on the fly. So that's where I want you to think about like how this could be really powerful stuff. Or after you cleaned up the vendors, so for example, let's say all these vendors happen to be cleaned up, then I can do a pivot table, and it would just be much cleaner, much more organized, because I don't have the multiple payees. Like for example, this Apple.com US, Apple.com bill. These two things should only really be one payee. So that's the idea that we leverage ChatGPT to clean up data like that. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Next topic, it would be writing Excel macros. So we're gonna stay within the topic of Excel, which makes it a lot more fun. And let's talk about what kind of macros, what kind of practical macros we could be writing um, with ChatGPT. So now, before I get started, I'm going to open up QuickBooks really quick. And then while QuickBooks loads, I want to ask you a question. Just put it in the chat. Do you currently write macro? Like, do you currently create macros or write macros to help you speed up your work? Like, do you currently search for doing macros to do your work faster in Excel? Okay, so we're getting a lot of no's. And for the people that wrote no, do you wish you knew how to write macro? Like, I guess the question is, do you think that if you knew how to write macros, your life would be much easier? Okay, yeah. So you guys agree with me? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I have good news for you. You actually don't need to learn any programming anymore. Okay, we can actually use ChatGPT to write macros for us, and it's incredibly accurate. Like, it's mind-blowingly accurate how good the macros are. And the same thing would be with if you have Google Sheets. there's something called Google Scripts. So you can it's like a macro for Google. Now I'm not that good at the Google Sheets parts. I'm more of an old school uh, Excel user. So I'm going to show you with Excel. So I'm going to run a P&L report, like typical P&L report you run in QuickBooks, and you export it into Excel. Okay, and then one of the biggest pet peeves I have with this is that I really don't have much flexibility in terms of what this spreadsheet looks like. And the spreadsheet is just, it's got a lot of formatting issues. Okay, and again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the problems with QuickBooks, but this is just a real problem that we have to deal with. So issue number one with a spreadsheet like this is that like the first four columns, I probably don't need them. Issue number two could be that the the next four columns, including one that is sort of concatenated or collapse a bunch of cells into one. I don't need it. And then I want to start maybe cleaning up some of this information. But I'm going to use it. I'm going to use a detail report. I think it might be better with a detail report. So let me run a transaction detail report, transaction list by date or something like that, because it would be a lot more relevant with a report like this. Okay, so let's say I come in and I export this report to Excel. And again, big pet peeve time. The report has a bunch of stuff that I need to clean up. Okay, so this one's actually even a better example. Let me zoom this in so you can see it correctly. It's a better example. The first four rows I don't need. The first column I don't need. And then if I scroll the way down, the very last column that has the very last row that has data, I don't need it because it's all concatenated. And I'll tell you the big problem with this is if you try to run a pivot table with this, you can't because you have to clean up the data first. Okay, so let's write the macro to tell it what we want. So let's go into ChatGPT, new chat. Okay, you are going to help me write a Excel macro. Okay, there we go. Okay, so first step. So I'm going to say first step, delete the first column. Okay, so there's the first piece of code. Okay, second step, delete first four rows. Beautiful. Okay, next one is let me upload a spreadsheet again. Okay, next one's going to be get rid of the last row that has data. So I'm going to put here third step, delete last row with any data in it. Okay, there you go. So there's my macro. Then I'm going to do one more thing and said select all data and create a filter. Okay, and there's the last one. Okay, so there we go. There's my code. Okay, I don't really know how to read this stuff. It's just code. Okay, so I'm gonna go to copy code, then I'm gonna go into Excel, then I'm gonna come over here, go to developer, go to Visual Basic, and then I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna paste that code in there. Basically, that creates my macro. That's my macro. Okay, so again, I'm hoping that I don't have to do all these things manually. So I'll save that. Where's my save button? Yes. Okay, get out of that. And then just imagine a world where I export the report from QuickBooks into Excel, and then I just go into macros, and then I'm gonna click run. I'm not gonna do it yet. I'm gonna take a deep breath first because it might not work, and if it doesn't work, we'll tweak it. So I'm gonna click run, and boom. I don't know if you even had a chance to to see that happen, but it did it in seconds. Okay, look, it's a macro. Okay, and again, this is not a webinar about trying to convince you of the marvels of macros. Macros are amazing. Okay, they've always been amazing. The challenge is that most of us don't know how to program, so we don't even bother with them. But imagine a world where all these data that's coming in, it's automatically coming in, automatically being filtered, all this stuff. Okay, I'm gonna do. Let me exit out of that. Let's do more stuff. Let's say one last step. Select the data table and make a pivot table. I don't know if this one I've never tried, so we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna go in, hit copy code, go back into QuickBooks, export this bad boy again into Excel. So it's a new spreadsheet. Okay, like like in the real world, right? We're pulling up a new spreadsheet each time. Then we're gonna go into developer and go to macros. Sorry, not there. Go to Visual Basic. Paste that macro in there. Beautiful. It will save that. Exit out of that. Okay. Then I'm gonna go to macros. Then I'm gonna click on run macro. Okay. Well, that part didn't work. The pivot table part didn't work. And I don't know why it didn't work, but what we could do is go back into ChatGPT and tell it, I got error 400 when the pivot table was being created. Okay, and now it says error 400 is something about something, it doesn't matter. And then it's going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a new updated version of the macro. Okay, that's pretty cool. So I got some sort of updated version of the macro. Let's copy that. Let's do that again. Okay, so this is where the fun geeky part comes in, where you start sort of asking ChatGPT to start troubleshooting itself. Okay, let me get out of that. Open up the spreadsheet again. Not that one. Okay, there's a spreadsheet again. Let's go to developer. Let's go to Visual Basic. Let's load the macro again. Again, this is the updated macro that contains some other stuff that I don't know what it is. Thank God I don't have to even know what it is. I just use ChatGPT for everything. And then go to macros and then go to run. Again, I'm gonna cross my fingers now. Run. Okay. Something about something weird. So I know that I would probably add. So and this is where I may have to add a little bit of logic. So let's say I were to name this table table one. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it like this. Okay, this is where your Excel knowledge will work. Okay, so I'm gonna put correction. Okay. No, don't do anything. Okay, I'll say okay. I need to change the code, and then I'm gonna tell it before doing the pivot table, select all the adjacent data from A1 and name the table 1. Okay, so there's a correction to the code, and then I'm going to go back and say when you generate the pivot table, use table 1. And this is the part where I may lose some people where they go, wait, Hector, what do you mean by table 1? What do you mean by all this? I mean, this is just sort of general understanding of uh, of how of how how it works. So I'm gonna copy this one more time and go back into ChatGPT. Sorry, go back into Excel. Let's see if that's gonna work for us now. Let's go into developer. Let's go into macro. Let's go into Visual Basic. Let's paste that in there. Okay, some new code. Maybe that will work. Maybe I have to also specify like with which rows and columns to start doing that with. So that might work. Okay, so we'll go back to that and then we'll run the macro and then click on run. Okay, well, it did it. So now the pivot table is done. So then I can do name, and I can do amount. Boom. See that? So and we could probably tweak it even more. You could even more and more to get there. But it's as again, this is where you combine both your Excel skills and your kind of understanding of how macros work. I'm telling you, I don't know any programming, but I do know that I can notice what went wrong, and I can go back and tell ChatGPT, hey, it didn't work. It didn't work, and it'll try to reason through the issue, and it will give you multiple iterations of the code. And then the best thing about this versus like having like an employee that writes code, and I can tell you because I have a partner that writes code, this person will never bark back at you because you tell them to rewrite the code 100 times. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. And this is the kind of the cool thing about your ChatGPT. That's it's just a computer, and it's just gonna try over and over and over. I can tell it it didn't work. Okay, although it did work, I can tell it it didn't work. Okay, I can just say that it didn't work, and then it'll come back and say, okay, can you tell me exactly why it didn't work or something like that? And you can continue to chat with it, and this darn thing will continue to give you different iterations of that code, and then you can come in and add that in there. Okay. Now, somebody in the chat put this link in here that says Microsoft Excel now has a Chat GPT function, and I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste this in the chat as well, and I'm gonna add it to the slides. So I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna create a new slide. Uh, just gonna duplicate this slide. That way you have access to it. And we put Chat GPT for Excel question mark. And I'll go back to this. So this is all sort of live webinar stuff. Somebody shared this in the live webinar. Seems interesting. I am not gonna go down the rabbit hole and start reading an article right in front of you in the middle of the webinar, but it sounds like a really good link to start exploring. So I'll look into that too to see how that will work. But we were talking about strictly the macro stuff. But thank you for that, whoever shared that. Edwin. Yeah, thank you, Edwin, for sharing that. Okay. Also, live proof that these webinars are not pre-recorded. In case you were suspecting that maybe sometimes these things are pre-recorded. Okay. Let's go with my favorite one. Let's talk about building your own chatbot. Okay. Now, sometimes I think I might need a lot more than 20 minutes or whatever I have left to talk about this, but there are essentially two ways to build a chatbot. Okay. And actually, there might be unlimited ways, but the two that I know and understand is there's this service called My Ask AI. My Ask AI. It's on the slides. Okay, it's My Ask AI, and there's this other one called PDFGPT.io. Okay, so I'm gonna show you both. So let me do chat PDF GPT.io. Okay, and so with this, the first time you log into it, so you could try it yourself. First thing it's gonna ask you is for you to give it is API key, and as I mentioned earlier, um, I have to go to platform.openai.com, and I have to go into my API keys, and I have to say create new key, and I'm going to put PDF GPT.io key or something like that. Press enter, then copy that key, and then come back in here and paste it, because this is another app that's free for now. The app itself is free, but the connectivity into ChatGPT is something that you have to pay for, and you pay for through the API. Okay, so then I'm gonna click on save, and there we go. So the purpose of this app of this website is that you uploaded a single PDF file, and you used the ChatGPT type of functionality with it. So for example, let's do something simple like IRS instructions. So let's do IRS tax instructions. Okay, and this is something you can start connecting with. So this is a big document. It's 130, not as big. I thought it was a little bit bigger. So 113 pages. Actually, is publication 17 bigger. Let's do the bigger the better in this case. Yeah, 138. Okay, about the same. So let's say you take a PDF, and now you're gonna have to start imagining your own PDF with your own information, not like a random PDF on the web because anybody can get that. But imagine your own personal PDF with your own information, and start chatting with it. Okay, so I'm just going to choose this one. So I'm going to load the PDF up here. And essentially, any question that I ask it, it's going to give me the answer. And it's going to tell me where in the PDF was the answer. So let me just go back here and go. I'm going to ask it the question. And as soon as it's done processing, I can start interacting with this particular PDF document. Now, what's cool about this is it's super easy to use. It's document by document. I don't know why that didn't work. Let me refresh it. It's document by document, and you can do each. You can sort of just do each document at a time and just let it. You know, the system will keep in mind all the different documents that you have, and you can chat with each document separately. Okay, so now while that loads, I'm going to show you what the difference would be if you have a service that uses like your own personal chatbot. Okay, so for example, I'm creating multiple chatbots here through this Ask My AI, and I have this one called the Hector bot, which is basically a QuickBooks desktop expert um, bot. And I'm just going to show you really quick. I have loaded multiple documents into this. I've loaded just uh, transcripts, uh, some accounting, some old accounting books, some QuickBooks guides that I've written, some QuickBooks blog articles, Q&A, just a bunch of stuff that I had in PDF and Word, and I loaded into it, and then it's just one bot that can answer not any question, but it can answer a heck of a lot of QuickBooks questions. So the way this Hector bot works, and this is basically after it's been trained, basically means I loaded documents so you can ask it anything. So you can say, what is the uh, I don't know, purpose of a non-inventory item, okay, or something like that. Okay, so then I press enter. I never asked it this question before. It's gonna read through all the text, all the things that I loaded, and it's gonna use this ChatGPT style processing, and it's going to come in and give me the answer. And the other cool thing is it's going to do is going to give me reference to which of the documents it's using to come up with an answer. Okay, and then you get the first version of the answer, and then you get a couple of follow-up questions like, can you write it with bullet points, or can you explain it like I'm 5 years old, or can you give me a longer, more detailed explanation? So I can click on that, and then it's going to just go deeper into the text and give a longer, more detailed explanation. So this was my first attempt to create something that might at some point be maybe a commercial thing, or it might be something that I could plug into my email and attempt to answer questions that customers send me via email first. Here's the answer. So I really I'm gonna copy the link to this chat box in the chat. So if you want to interact with HectorBot, you can do that. So there it is. And there's also I loaded a bunch of Peter Drucker books, so I can basically interact with it. Like Peter Drucker is one of my mentors who's been dead for like 20 years. But I loaded it like 6 or 7 books I have in PDF, and I can interact with Druckerbot. It's just an example. I'm doing the same thing with Ron Baker's. I'm loading a lot of Ron Baker stuff in there, and I'm also going to interact with Ron Baker through this. And I'm also training a QBO bot, so I'm starting to load QBO stuff into it. It's all going to be really interesting once this stuff kind of works. Um, you know, it might be awesome, a world where I could trust these type of bots to scour my email and then like answer things as the same way I've answered customers' emails before. I'm just worried about AI or something reading my email, right? I mean, so it's all sorts of implications to that. But I can go to the Drucker bot and say, what is the difference between being efficient versus being effective? Okay, so that's a typical question you would ask Drucker bot, Peter Drucker. Press enter, and then this thing is going to now give me the answer. And again, it's narrowed within the context that I sent it. Okay, right there. So there we go. So that's my Drucker bot. Okay, people criticize that I say Drucker bot, and it sounds like butt, like the part of your body, not butt like a robot. So it's okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, so this is the type of stuff that you can do, and this is what I'm experimenting with. This stuff is maybe not as pertinent to like accounting or the profession, like these fun bots that I'm creating, but um, I'm going to give you an example that I think will truly resonate with you. Let me see if we go back. I don't know why this PDF thing is not working, but we'll, we're going to try it really quick with another document that I have. Now this will feel really truly practical for you. So give me a chance. Let me show you this thing. Um, where is my document? Hang on. Okay. So imagine, and I want you to put your imagination caps on for a second. So imagine that imagine you've been in practice for, let's say, 5 years, okay? And in the last 5 years, you've had realistically 300 conversations with 300 different people, okay? Different people that were customers, maybe they were monthly, maybe they were a one-time thing. Okay, that it's not unrealistic that every year you speak to about 60 new people in this profession. And also imagine you had the foresight to to grab every one of the questions that people are asking you and have this big document of questions and answers, questions and answers, questions and answers. Imagine you had the foresight to build something like this. Something I didn't have, by the way. Like this is something I've been building since ChatGPT came up. I said, "Holy crap, this is going to change my life," because I can start now saving most of the time that I waste is explaining the same question to like the same answer to people asking the same question over and over and over and over. Okay, so if you imagine you had you build a document like this. Okay, our life insurance premiums. Let's just use a specific example. Okay, um, our life insurance premiums deductible for my business, and then here's the explanation. Our health insurance deductible from here's the explanation. So imagine you had a big document like this, or a series of documents, that were organized in whichever way, shape, or form you want. And then imagine then you create a PDF of this document. Okay, and let me just put it up here. Okay, and then imagine you would use a tool like this, and I don't know if this tool is not going to work, but we'll try it one more time. And I were to load the PDF of those Q and A's. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this one worked. Okay, so I loaded I call it my firm bot. This would be my firm bot. This is like the knowledge base of my firm. Okay, and I were to start asking, or I were to expose it in maybe on something where a customer can log into my website or something like that, right? So and then let's type here. Let's do a couple of examples. What are the typical questions that a customer would ask me? So let's say my customer would ask me something like, "Can I deduct my home office?" Okay, and then press enter. Okay, so again, imagine if uh, that now sometimes this could be wrong, or it could get confused. Like in this particular case, I said no, the cost of personal vacations are not deductible. Obviously, it got confused, and then I can go back and say, okay, what was it reading? And I can click here, and you can find exactly what it was reading. I don't know what it thought that vacation had to do with home office. I don't know why it did that. That's kind of weird. This this uh let's try one more thing. Let me do can I deduct my health insurance? Okay, and let me press enter. Okay, well, this one kind of worked. So yes, if you are self-employed and not eligible for coverage under an employee-sponsored plan, you can deduct your health insurance premiums for yourself, your spouse, and your dependents. The deduction is not subject to self-employment tax. Okay, so just kind of a couple of interesting things there, and then let's see what other common question. Let's say something like, "Why is my net income and my um, uh, bank's balance different?" Let's say if you can do something like this. Okay, and that might be a difficult one for it to answer. Okay, I think that the bot is actually better at that. But this is the single PDF reader. Press enter. See if this one works. No, so it got confused. Let's do the same thing with, let's do it in the Hector bot. Let's create a new one. New Ask AI. Let's call this Firm bot. Okay, I'm gonna press next. And then I'm gonna say, I want this in explanation format and go to choose selected style. Okay, and I'm gonna go to add file and I'm going to add my Q&A. And then I'm gonna go to ask my AI, and it literally takes minutes. It's just basically loading the information in there, and then we'll go to launch, ask my AI. Now this is my firm bot. I already launched it in seconds. I launched it. I got my firm bot now. Will it do it correctly? Let's see. Let's ask it the same questions. I find that this one's a lot better than the ask the PDF one, but let's see what we can ask. We can ask, can I deduct my home office? Let's see what it says. Let's give it a chance. Okay, this one gives me good answers. Beautiful. So to deduct expenses related to your home office, it could be limited, bunch of stuff, pretty good. Let's ask a follow-up question. Let's do explain it like I'm 5 years old. I find that to be a pretty hilarious a follow-up question. We can set that up. And can you Google that and find some information? Yeah, that's very true. You could Google that. Here's my 5-year-old answer. Let's go back and ask that other question that this my PDF couldn't answer. Let's see if the firmbot can. Let's paste that and press enter. Why is my net income and my bank's balance different? Let's see if it can do that. And there we go. There could be different reasons. Some factors can contribute to this discrepancy. Okay, let's ask for more detailed explanation. That was a very brief answer. Let's see if we can get a more detailed answer. Let's see if we can do that. And I'm going to give you a very specific reason. Here's a more detailed answer. Okay. Here's some examples. Okay. Another reason is non-cash expenses like depreciation or amortization. These expenses reduce your net income but do not affect your cash. Owner's draw or distribution can also contribute to discrepancy. If you take money out of your business for personal use, it won't affect your net income but reduce your cash balance. Debt repayment. And so, yes, the bot itself, it's impressive. I'm loving this application. I'm finding this application to be seriously next level stuff. But also, it depends on the quality of the data that you feed it to, because it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. Remember, this is not an accountant answering questions. This is a computer trying to determine how, what's the approximation of the question and the answer. Now, I'm going to give you one particular example to this, which is that particular question. So I actually loaded multiple versions of that question in here. So I have one set of answers. So the net income versus cash in the bank. I have one concrete answer here, but I have multiple questions loaded. So I have multiple versions. Why is my net income so high when I don't even have the money in my bank account? Why does my net income appear much higher? So notice that I'm using variations of the question also to make it easier for the chatbot to potentially find any variations of these questions when they ask it. Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. People goes, Hector, you don't need that. You can just go to Google and ask that question. Okay, let's say you subscribe to that concept. Let's say that your customers don't need your own personalized chatbot to be able to ask this stuff. Let's say you say, Hector, that my customers are not going to do it. They're going to Google instead. Okay, if they Google that question and they go to the very first answer, guess who are they going to see? They're going to see a blog article from another accountant. So good job, Octavia Connor. I don't think I know her, but good job for writing an article that addresses this specific question. And good job being first in Google when people ask that question. But if I'm an accountant and I'm worried about losing clients, that clients are going to think that other accountants know more than me, what's going to happen? They're going to say goodbye. I'm going to go work with Octavia. So how in the world are you going to protect yourself against all the noise that's in Google? And by the way, she might have a perfect answer. The article might be crap. Who knows? I don't know. Okay, but funny enough, the second hit is one of my videos. So, so I know what I'm doing too when in the SEO side. But hers is better. She's got the number one. But that's a very important concept. I got to make sure that you understand is that if you're not using these tools to build a relationship, a deeper relationship with your customer, something that they could quickly go in there and ask questions, even if they're not 100% accurate. And imagine this being embedded. Look at this. It's an embed button. I haven't gotten there yet, but there's an embed button, and there's ways I can just embed this in my website. So we could, and it also has a Zapier connectivity. I'm not a Zapier guy, but I know some of the people in this webinar are Zapier guys, and it also has API access, which is actually pretty cool because you can have other apps access your bot as if your bot is like ChatGPT. So just like we use that spreadsheet app to connect to ChatGPT via API, this this chatbot could be the source of truth for many other systems. So imagine maybe possibly you have a portal. Let's say I don't know what practice management system has a portal. Like put it in the chat here. What what practice management system has a portal in which customers ask you questions through? Okay, so we have Keeper, we have TaxDome, we have whatever. Okay, so now imagine that these people, Keeper, TaxDome, Lisio, these people, Financial Sense. Imagine these people say they realize the power of this, and then they create an API. So when your customer asks you a question via the portal, immediately it goes to the source of truth, this thing, your chatbot that you've been training and adding information, and it gives the customer a preliminary answer, and it says, hey, this is our chatbot answer. So just in case this is good enough, meanwhile the accountant or Hector or whomever gets a chance to read it and give you the actual answer. So imagine how much easier your life would be if 80% of these questions are being answered automatically with a chatbot. Okay, again, you have to be able to put your imagining caps on, and you have to think beyond just the immediate tangible things that are here. Now, the PDF chat I just started using that. I find it to be hit and miss. There's also chat PDF. That's another option. It's called chat PDF. Again, they're single PDF communication devices. So I could also maybe load one of the PDFs in here and also interact with it. I have a couple more slides to do, but I won't go through the example. But you could try Chat PDF. Okay, this file's too big, but you try Chat PDF. Try what was the name of the other one? PDFGPT.io. Right now, I'm using my Ask AI. I am actually focusing 100% my attention on building these bots, and I'm telling you, I am not going to be replaced by a bot or by artificial intelligence. I am going to create my own version of my AI or my own version of bot that I choose how I will be replaced by it. Okay, I don't want to be replaced just through sheer random experiments that people are doing. I'm gonna be in the forefront of this. Some of the other stuff that I've been doing should sound exciting, but obviously we don't have time to get to it. I've been writing some code, some JavaScript. Again, I know nothing about coding. That I can run inside my browser and change things in my screen. I'm gonna show you one. I'm gonna show you one because I wanna kind of explain to you what the heck does that even mean. But imagine there's a website that you use a lot, and right now I'm going to use QuickBooks as an example. But imagine there was there's a place that you do a lot of stuff in. Okay, so QuickBooks happens to be a place that I do a lot of stuff in. But I want you to imagine any sort of website. Okay, let me open up one of these bills. Okay, And I'm just gonna put more stuff in here. If you don't mind. So I'll try to show you a practical example of like, how you can write scripts on websites to sort of like do things that normally take many clicks. Okay. So imagine this bill is in here and I need to zero out all these amounts. Okay. Again, imagine I need to zero out all these amounts. So normally what I would do, I would come in here and put zero, down arrow, etc., etc. Now, that type of stuff could be fixed with a script. I actually wrote a script using ChatGPT. ChatGPT wrote the script for me. I know nothing. I know nothing about it. Okay. I wrote a script and I'm going to show you. It's called insert zeros. I'm just going to show you what the script looks like here just so just for funsies. Okay, so this is what the script looks like. Okay, that's what the script looks like. Do I know what that stuff means? No, I know nothing about it. But ChatGPT is the one that helped me write it, and I'm going to show you exactly how I had ChatGPT write it for me. It's actually not that complicated. So I wrote this script and I can run the script as a bookmark. It's called a bookmarklet. It's called insert zeros. So I click on that, and it's going to ask me, hey, how many rows do you want me to insert zeros? I put 4 and press enter. Watch this. Look at the screen. Look at the numbers. I'm going to press enter, and the script goes through and writes zeros for me in my behalf. Okay. So imagine you had to do this maybe in an inventory adjustment scenario. Imagine you were in here and you had to zero out. This is like kind of like the place where this came from. It's just imagine you had this big inventory adjustment and you had to um, make all the items zero really quick. Actually, let me do that. Let me switch QBO files. Give me 1 second. Okay. Now, in theory, this one could work. Let's try that. Let's go and do an inventory adjustment. And let's pick all the products. Let me switch QBO files. I might have to switch QBO files because this one's acting weird. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go to an adjustment. Okay. So obviously imagine this thing is really big and has a bunch of parts, like all your inventory items. And it would be like a real painful thing for you to go in there and put zeros on each one. Then you can run a script. Insert zeros, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll just put 8, enter, and this bad boy will come in there and put a bunch of, look, my hands up. Okay, it's putting zeros for me. Okay, so imagine you start really truly getting creative, and like again, you have to imagine, like imagination is going to set you free. So imagine you get in there and you go to ChatGPT and say, um, help me write a script. Okay, so you go step 1, ask me for it number of iterations. Good. Okay. So then we go step 2, in re replace the text in the current text field with a 0. Okay. So that's the second part. Then I can say then hit down arrow. Okay. Then repeat again based on number of iterations. Okay. So there we go. So then do complete complete in JavaScript and bookmarklet format. Okay. So there's my script. Okay. Uh, okay. Give me the complete script. Okay. So there's my complete script. Okay. Then I'm gonna. Okay. Hold on. In JavaScript. Forgot about that part. Okay. And then in bookmarklet format. So there's my script. So I'm going to copy it. And then essentially how this works, and this is just something you have to kind of understand how this works, that you come in there and you add a bookmark. Okay. And we're just going to call it script test. And then you come in there and you edit the URL with the script that ChatGPT helped you write. So I'm just going to sort of replace it in there. Click on save. And essentially, if when I run that script, that should just do it. I'll put here 5, and then it'll run through the script. And if it doesn't work, you tell it doesn't work, and you keep going over and over and over and over. Okay. So that gives you a general idea. This was really wasn't meant for me to do it. That's why I did it way too fast. But I'm just giving you a general idea. What does that writing a script mean when you're not a coder? Okay, so that's what I mean. That's what I would do with the script. Other things I've done with it is to wrote engagement letters, contracts, agreements, brainstorming for a new client prep call. That one's particularly cool. Writing job descriptions for job postings, writing interview plan for that posting. So like I put the job description, I have a bunch of candidates. What questions should I ask? Write content or content planning for social media or blog. Some apps that are using AI. So we have an app called Genius Sheets. And basically, you type it whatever you want, and it goes into the reports of QuickBooks, and it comes back with a result of sorts, or it goes back to the number of the in the report. Keeper. This is I'm using Keeper now for practice management. So this is really cool AI categorization that that gives you help in terms of finding a category for a transaction. And Write Tool, my app, I'm having it write narratives and notes on reports, and I have a video on that in YouTube, so you can check that out too. So this is what the Genius Sheets page looks like. This is what the Keeper bot looks like. So basically, it's a little button that you you click on when you're in QuickBooks Bank Feeds. You click on Ask Keeper AI, and then it goes in and gives you like the reasoning in terms of why you should categorize this as whatever, right? Or it just goes through and asks ChatGPT, hey, what is this payee? What kind of expenses do you usually run with this kind of? So this is brand new. This is like cutting edge, brand new stuff. Like it's not even available to everybody. It's just a beta testing, but it's really, really cool. And we're doing something similar with Write Tool as well. Let me show you what that looks like. So let me go into QuickBooks Online, and let's say I have a profit and loss report here. And down here in the bottom, you see this thing that says insert ChatGPT report analysis. That's not built into QuickBooks Online. That's an add-on called Write Tool, and we have a setting that's in beta right now. Only a few people have access to that, where we can do bank transaction categorization AI and also report analysis in AI. So those are the tool AI sort of ChatGPT level type things that's in it. So I'm going to show you this one, the report analysis. So this works in any P&L, any balance sheet, any report in QuickBooks, and you click where it says insert ChatGPT report analysis. So I'll click on that. And then by default, it says in 3,900 characters or less. And the reason for that is because the notes section in QBO reports is limited to 4,000 characters. So we put 3,900 just to be safe. And then we actually don't send the actual company name to QuickBooks. We just use generic XYZ Corp because I mean, to ChatGPT, we really don't know how that data is being used. So we're using a generic company name. And then by default, you can write your own, you can write your own uh, prompt, but by default says, assume I'm an expert in accounting. I already know what accounts mean. Are there any strange numbers that I should take a closer look at? This is like our default prompt. So I'm just going to click on that and have it do its work with the default prompt. And then I'll change the prompt a little bit and we'll kind of see what that looks like. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, and then it takes the exact answer that you would get in ChatGPT, and it puts it in the notes. It pastes it in the notes. Okay, and the purpose for that is so then you can print the notes with the report or save the PDF of the report with the notes. So I'm going to read it in the PDF. So I'm going to go to export to PDF, and then up here on the screen, I'm going to look at the note. So it says here, construction income in March was this amount. There's a significant increase. This increase should be investigated further, et cetera, et cetera. There's direct payroll expenses, which in March was zero. So that's unusual because there should be one every month. Accounting fees show a negative value. This is weird because, there really shouldn't be negative values. Loan interest is this, despite the fact that it was the same. Normally that changes over time or whatever it is. So that's the notes that they came up with. But I can replace that and put my own notes. So I'm going to go, or my own prompt anyway. So I'm going to go to insert GPT report analysis. I'll delete that and put what expenses in March uh, increased and what can we do to reduce them? Okay, so same exact report is being sent to ChatGPT, but I'm giving it a different prompt. I'm going to click on Ask ChatGPT, and it's going to come in. It's going to replace the notes that are currently in there. It's going to give me brand new notes based on that prompt. So let's see what happens when we do that. We'll give it another 10 seconds or so. It should be done. Okay, and there's some new notes. Okay, so let's export that to PDF so we can see what that looks like. I'll save it as a PDF and pull it up on the screen. So here's some new notes. No, not the same. Oh, oops, not the same one. Hold on, let's see. Maybe it hasn't loaded yet. Okay. Let me go to edit notes. And oh, there they are. Okay, take a little bit of a while. Okay, let me pull that up. So let's pull up the PDF again. And let's pull it in PDF. It's just easier to read once it's in PDF. Okay, let's scroll down. Okay, here it says, in March, the expenses that increased from February were the following: car and truck expense, payroll, professional fees, and telephone. So it just gave me the top four or whatever. And then it's giving me here techniques on how I can reduce them. So consider monitoring fuel consumption. Um, Evaluate your staffing needs and consider outsourcing certain tasks. Professional fees. Negotiate with your accountant to reduce your fees. That's funny. Regarding telephone expenses, examine the bills, identify, remove redundant, unnecessary expenses. Again, not rocket science, but it could reduce many obvious things that we tell people when we give them a profit and loss report or whatever. So that's just an example of how AI is being used today in an app. This is kind of inside QuickBooks, but we're using a tool called Right Tool, which is an app that I developed or I designed and somebody else developed, but my team developed. So that's one of the AI uses that we're using today inside QuickBooks through Right Tool. The other one is through Bank Feed. So I'm going to show you. This one's pretty interesting too. It's going to be a little bit similar to what Keeper does, but this is a much more simplified uh, way. So let's say we look at this thing that says Mitch S. Westside Bag. I have no idea what that is. So I'm going to click on GPT Suggest, and this is going to go ask ChatGPT and suggest a category for me now. And now it's suggesting meals and entertainment expense. That gives you a general idea. Let's look at another one. Let's look at this one. Live Well Chiropractic. Let's do GPT Suggest. Let's see what it tells me. Chiropractic services expense. Now that might not even be deductible, so we put that under personal expenses. Let's click on this one. Go to ChatGPT Suggest. Again, these systems are not perfect. Okay, and this one just says expense. But if I were to just take this information straight into ChatGPT, oops, my ChatGPT closed. Let me open it again. And if I were to say, I have expenses in my credit card that I do not know how to categorize. Please give me one. vendor merchant name. Let's put here clean, clean, uh, two, possible expense category, and three, logic or explanation as to why that category, considering this is a, let's say, graphic design business, just randomly. Okay. So just trying to give you an idea more or less of kind of like how ChatGPT thinks through these things. So now I'm going to paste it through here and press enter. And then here's where it is. It says vendor is TST Canaima Doral. Possible expense that is a restaurant, however, without more information, etc., etc. So assuming that this is, a restaurant in Doral, this should be food and dining. And that's here. In the other hand, if you have reason to believe this expense is something else, it could be office supplies or business services. So this is obviously a much more nuanced answer. Some of the additional resources, and I'm going to monitor the chat really quick to make sure that that I answer all the questions. So definitely, you want to check out my YouTube playlist. I have like 7 or 8 videos on ChatGPT. I do all sorts of different examples. Check out Matt Wolf. He's got a database of apps called Future Tools. It's amazing, great stuff. There's this really cool website called LMSys Chat Arena, and basically what it does is I'm going to click on that really quick. It allows you. ChatGPT is not the only LLM out there. It's not the only. It's not the only sort of chat system. There's others. I mean, there's one called Vicuna, and there's Open Assistant, and there's ChatGLM, and there's Alpaca, and there's Koala. I've never heard of any of these things. It's really weird, obscure things. But what's really cool about this is that in here you can compare. You can have it compare one with the other. So let me refresh here and show you what it can do. So let's say, for example, I want to compare Vicuna with, let's say, Dolly. And then I'm going to ask it the exact same question we asked for it before. And you're going to see two different LLMs, two different chatbots per se, answering the same question. It's just really interesting stuff. So I'm going to paste that and click on send. And then you're going to see two different chatbots, the two different ChatGPT style chatbots, and neither of them is ChatGPT. So it's also a really cool place for you to kind of compare them, and then you're going to get two entirely different answers. Okay, it's like this one is saying net income, it's company after taxes, balance sheet is total deposits plus loans. I mean, this had its own version of the answer, and then this one had another version of the answer. It's talking about timing and category mismatch and transactions and accounting. So you get to really see the different things. And again, I don't know which one's better than the other. Let's say Dolly looks kind of crappy. Let's do alpaca. Let's compare Vicuna and alpaca. Same question. Actually, let's compare. Let's say koala and alpaca, whatever that means. Okay, and then press send, and then we get to see both head to head go. And again, this is kind of cool. I mean, like you can get two GPT style bots answering for you literally simultaneously. Okay, probably similar theme, just two different approaches to the exact same question, which is pretty cool. It's actually pretty mind blowing. Um, there's also Jason Stats. I want to give him a shout out because he's been like sort of at the forefront of this whole GPT thing. It absolutely inspires me to take it one step farther because what he's done is really great. He's got a really cool video called "Use Cases for AI in Accounting." You definitely want to check that out. Now let me go through the questions and see if anything here I can answer. Let's see. Can ChatGPT be used to extract data from check images? So the answer, Jolene, is like yes, probably. I wouldn't be uploading check images to any of these random apps because I don't know any of them. I don't know how they are security wise. I don't know what the policies are. But I would say in theory, yes, you could upload and it could read the stuff and do something with it. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Uh, what are they? Okay, so through the API, what do they charge per transaction? There's no clear answer to that. is based on tokens and stuff. So it's just you're gonna have to like create the API key and just test it and kind of see what happens. Um, let's see. Let's see what else. Can you use it to show comparative financials for time period that QB has on reports? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but let's try it. Why not? So let's load QBO again, and let's do a comparative P&L. Let me switch to a sample file that has better information here. I'm gonna compare last month P&L. I would say maybe last month with the month before. Okay, something like that. Let's do previous month, previous period, and dollar change. That could work. Okay. Then I can copy. I'm gonna copy this information. Okay, and I'm gonna copy this from Excel. I'm gonna paste this into ChatGPT. Jolene, I assume this is what you're asking. I'm not sure what your question is, but I'm gonna put I am going to give you comparative P&L for my business. I want you to analyze it and tell me what probably what probably happened to cause the difference. Something like that. Okay, so let's paste that bad boy in there and then press enter. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so thank you for sharing your P&L. My base, okay, you go. Significant increase in income. The income went from 77,000 from February to March. This could be because a higher number of contracts, et cetera, et cetera. Increased job-related expenses. The cost of goods sold increased by 10,000. This is primarily due to increase of job-related costs, which includes these two categories. Decrease in office payroll. Your payroll expenses decreased by $425. This was primarily due to the decrease in officers' labor costs. It is possible that the company had to pay out larger salary of an officer in the previous month, etc., etc. Decrease in professional services. This was due to decrease in accounting fees, which likely paid out as a one-time expense on the previous month. That's actually pretty cool. That last thing is kind of pretty cool. So yeah, it can do comparisons of that. It can do comparisons of financial statements, and I mean, ChatGPT is not there to show you numbers. It's there to give you narratives, to give you text. Okay. So Jolene, I'm not sure if that was your question related to ChatGPT or not, but that's what I understood from your question. Let's see. Somebody's asking, do you think my Ask AI is better than PDF GPT? Yeah, it's actually better. You saw it on the live webinar, so I lost my trust of PDF GPT because I tried to ask her a question and it gave me an answer that was completely unrelated. Although I've been testing it and for other documents, it's worked pretty good. Somebody says on a bookmarklet, can you create a keyboard shortcut? No, I haven't figured out how to do it, Brian. I don't know how to do a keyboard shortcut attached to a like a bookmark. But if you figure it out, I'll definitely take it. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. So next steps, create your ChatGPT account, test it out. If you're gonna upload client information, don't put customer names, don't put your social security numbers, just use like sort of metadata, okay? Because we still don't know what security looks like in this world. And I'm gonna give you a personal exercise, okay? And we still have 145 people here in this webinar live, and I want to make sure, seriously, I want to talk to you, okay? Number one, most of you are accountants or accounting professional, okay? Most of you still see this stuff as a toy, as a plaything, because some of the examples I give you, they don't really directly translate to something that we're doing day to day. Like ChatGPT is not going in there and explaining a tax return to a client because the client still wants to see your face and you still have to go line by line and they're still going to have follow-up questions. And clients don't even know how to ask questions. So if you don't ask good questions to ChatGPT, you're gonna get the wrong answer. You need a human being to discern the question, to understand the context, to read the question without behind the question, etc., etc. All that. Okay, like in no way, shape, or form I would ever say that AI or bots or software automation, ChatGPT, whatever, can replace a human being, can replace a relationship you have with your customers. In no way, shape, or form I am saying that. Okay. Um, so definitely brainstorm and share with others, test it out. I guarantee you that the results will blow your mind. And little by little, start figuring out what are those dumb, mundane tasks that you could have ChatGPT or a ChatGPT AI enabled app do in your behalf. And then so you can focus more on the FaceTime with your customers. But then you can give them better with in the same amount of time you're spending with them, or even less time, give them higher quality attention because you don't have to spend so much time with the minutia. Let these apps take over the minutia so you can be there for the bigger picture, so you can be there for the relationship stuff. Okay, so that being said, that's it. Do that, and email me if you did something awesome that I didn't cover. If you found something amazing, email me, let me know, because I'm going to continuously create a content, and I'm going to try to like educate my colleagues as much as possible on what I find and what people tell me they find. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.